So BMC will read the sensor information and monitor the health of each component. Okay. So one more main use case is, so we know about bare metal server, right? So what is bare metal server? So server with no operating system. So server with no operating system, we cannot access it, right? Sit in front of the server also, we cannot log into the server. So if we have BMC, so we can connect to the bare metal servers also. Okay, from remotely, and we can install the operating system. So that is the main use case. So in our storage domain, we will use this BMC. So even though not only for the servers, our storage arrays also contain this BMC. So depending on the company, they will name it as, so Dell name it as iDRAC, HP they will call it as ILO. Okay, so Cisco they will call it as SIMS. Okay, so Lenovo they call it as Lenovo parenting. Yeah. Some name they call, right?
Sir, voice is not clear, sir. Unable to understand.
Voice is not clear. Huh? Right, నేను చేస్తాను. నేను చేస్తాను. Is it okay now?
Okay, no, sir.
Okay, so I will be was far from this mic. So, okay, now BMC. So Lenovo. So depend on the manufacturer. So all the servers having their own BMC. So they will develop their own firmwares. Okay, so basically, open standard name is BMC. So depend on the company, they will name. Like if we have Dell, so they call it as iDRAC. So the current version of iDRAC is 9. Okay, so HP they call it as ILO. So the current version is ILO 5. Okay, so Supermicro. So basically, these are also server manufacturers. Okay, so there are some BMC manufacturers. So famous one is American Megatron. So this is the only company that manufactures the BMC. So it is only the famous one. Okay. So what these guys will do? So these server manufacturers will buy the BMC from these companies, and they will name their own naming like iDRAC, ILO, Super BMC, SIMS. Okay. So even for the Fujitsu. So BMC very important component for our storage also. Okay. So because so our storage devices, it's very difficult to sit in front of the storage and manage it. So if you want to remove the drive, every time is you cannot go to the lab and remove the drive every time. So you can do from remote. So BMC will help us. Okay. So now what is the main purpose of BMC? Remote management, sensor monitoring, health monitoring, logging into the perimeter servers. Okay, and install the operating systems. So BMC you can access both CLI and GUI. Okay, so CLI can directly log into the BMC. So how we can log in? So suppose if we see our server backend, so we discussed there is one port for the BMC, right? There will be one Ethernet port for the BMC. So if we set BMC, we will get the interface as Ethernet. Okay, we need to connect one LAN cable to the BMC port. Then we will get the IP address. Okay. So with that IP address, we can directly log in via SSH or Telnet. Okay, if we type that IP address in Google, we can log into the GUI of BMC. Okay, so these are the two ways, and there are many other ways of accessing the BMC. So there are some open standards like IPMI. IPMI is the open standard for logging into the BMC. Okay, so USCL and IPMI. So IPMI itself is a protocol. So there will be an IPMI tool. By using that, we can manage the BMC. Okay. So apart from IPMI, there are redfish, swordfish, and postman also. Okay. So we'll try to see about redfish and IPMI. So swordfish and postman, we don't have any access. Okay. So these are the open source standards. So when it comes to redfish, it is an API. So any idea what is API? We are writing APIs, right, in our framework. So what is the meaning of API?
Application process interface.
So sending request and getting the response, right? So we wrote some APIs using Paramiko. So that will send some command to the server and we'll get the response. That response will validate. So similarly, Redfish is the open source API. So someone has written this API. So this with the Redfish API, we can communicate with BMC. Okay. We will see that. We will try to see and we will see about IPMS. This one is clear about BMC. So what are the things we can do? Remote management, health monitoring, read the sensor data to get the system event logs. So this is also important. So suppose if your CPU get crashes, so will you be able to access the server on your laptop? Right? So if CPU gone bad, we cannot access our server. Right? So but if we have BMC, so even though CPU crashes, we can access the server and we can get the logs. So log is nothing but evidence, right? So if some CPU crashes, you want to see what is the issue. So you can log into the BMC and you can get the system event logs. From there, you can analyze what is the issue. Okay. And we can also install the OS. Okay, so using if you log into the bare metal servers, you can install the OS using BMC. So Raspberry. So next we will see how to log in the GUI and CLI. BIOS reference రాసారా BMC రాసుకోండి
No. Sure.
Okay, so before going to see so how we can access BMC from UI, so we will see how our server connections looks like. So what is the complete setup? So let's consider this is our server. So to the server there will be one switch. So that is Ethernet switch. Okay, so Ethernet switch has all the ports. So let's consider this. Or this. Okay. So there will be another switch. So that is a power switch. So normally to our lab systems, we will not connect power cables directly. Okay. So we will not connect power cable to our switchboards. So we will use a special device that is PDU. So this both the switches contains IP address. Okay. So this one we call it as IP PDU. So PDU stands for power distribution unit. Okay, so we will connect power from main supply to this IP PDU. From this IP PDU, we will connect to this power cables. Okay, power ports. So from where IP PDU gets the power from the main source. Okay, so from the main source, we'll connect to the power cable to this IP PDU. From here, we'll connect to the server power ports. Okay, so PDU stands for power distribution. So it contains its IP address. Okay, so this is our lab setup. So that we'll follow. So very important to understand why IPPDU is there. So with IPPDU, we can log in into this IPPDU since it has its own IP address and we can control the power. Okay, so we can log in into the PDU. So if we want to power on, so PDU we call it as ports. Okay, each port. So it has 8 ports, right? So let's say port 1, port 2, port 3, like that, port 8. So depend on the port number. So this cable you connected to the port 1. So this cable you connected to the port 2. So if you log in into the PDU and give a command like power off port 1. So it will power off the server. Means this port will stop supplying the power. Okay, so similar for port 2. So if you say power off port 2, so it will power off this port 2. Okay, so that we call it as hard reset. అర్థమైందా? So Ethernet switch నుంచి just will connect the LAN cables. So switch has no BMC. So only server is having the BMC. Okay. So switch we just use to connect multiple ports. Okay. So this is the typical connection. So we need not to sit in front of the server, right, to remove the power cables also. So you can simply log into this PDU and you can power off the port, power on the port, or power cycle the port. Okay. Because these things are very important. So power operations mostly we do, for our storage device also. Okay, as part of testing, we do power cycle, power off, power on, reboot, reset, all those things. అర్థమైందా? So mana server kuda similar connection, but we don't have PDU, right? So we are directly connecting the power source. Okay. So now we will see how we can access this BMC from UI and UI. Okay, so just we need to type the IP address of BMC. So our server IP address is 92.168.0. Okay, so our server is Dell, so we can see it is integrated Dell remote access controller means iDRAC. What is the username? Root, password 20. Server BMC IP, BMC password. Username small capital. Okay, so this is the UI. So depending on the company, they will design the UI. Okay, so this is the Dell server. So you can see here. So from this iDRAC or BMC, we can launch the console of our server. So there is a virtual console. Just if we click on this, we can see the console of our server. Okay. So you have to go through all these options. So there is overview. So below there is a server. So if we click on server, you can see the overall status of the server, like batteries. So how many batteries are there? So CMOS battery and what is the state? Okay. So if we click on fans, so it will give how many fans in our server, what is the speed, what is the status. Okay. So the status of all fans are good. So if any fan is gone bad, we can see the indication here. Okay. So what is the redundancy status? So it is redundant, right? So similarly, if we click on power supplies, so power supply nothing but PSU. So you can see what is the status of PSU. Yeah, so both the health status is good, and what is the input watts it supports. Okay, what is the firmware version? So as we discussed, so PSU is also having its own firmware, right? So this is the firmware version. Okay, and it is a AC power. and we can see the health is okay. Okay. So similarly for all the components, let's say temperatures. So you can see what is the CPU temperature, system motherboard temperature. Okay, so inlet and outlet. Like we have the chassis, right? So you can see that. In the graphs also it will list it. So in the last 1 month, is there any increase or decrease? Okay. So these are the some information like what is the BIOS version, firmware version, IP address, IDRAC MAC address. Okay. So what is the server name? So all those things you can see from this IDRAC. Similar in the details. So it will give the complete information, complete details of our server. Okay. So this is one thing. So another one we discussed about logs, right? So logs also we can see system event log. So whatever happening in our server, so it will capture that information and it will list here. So you can see here. So on Wednesday, May 17th at 1:10, drive 5 is installed. Means someone has inserted the drive. So before that, someone has removed the drive. So you can see drive 5 is removed from disk bay 1 at 1:10, 14. Okay, so someone has reinserted at 25 in 14 seconds. Okay, so these are all we call it as system event logs. Okay, so all these logs we can view from BMC console. You can see so many times we have removed and reset. So let's say if OEM software event, if someone is resetted the power, so all these messages will capture. Okay, so you can try all these things. You can remove one drive and you can see that is listening here or not. You can remove one fan. So what are the hot swappable things you can remove and you can see the event log. Okay, so it is capturing here or not. So next one is power. Okay, so suppose if you want to power off the server, so you can click on this power control and power off the system and you need to click on apply. So it will power off our server. So there are many options. So warm reboot, cold reboot. So there are many options. You can should not try all the options because it will power off the server. So just remember we can power off, power on the server using BMC. And we can also do graceful reset, warm reboot and cold reboot. So try to understand what is the difference between warm reboot and cold reboot. Okay, so next one is virtual console as we discussed. So if we click on virtual console, so from BMC itself we can launch the console of our server. Okay. So there are alerts. So there are some iDRAC settings we can do here, and there is a tab for hardware. So you can see all the hardware devices like battery. So whatever we see right in the starting, like CPU. So how many CPUs are there? What is the information? So we have two CPUs. So we call it as multi-socket, right? And what is the processor brand? Intel Xeon is a processor. So you can see the complete information. So what is the maximum size, speed? Okay. What is the current speed? So if any CPU failure, we can see the status here. Similar for memory. So you can see we have these many DIMM slots, but we have inserted RAMs in these DIMMs only. So only you can see status as good here. So these DIMM slots are we have not inserted any RAM. So you can see DIMM A1 we inserted 8 GB RAM. So if you see we have around 128 GB RAM, 128 or 140 GB RAM. Okay. So front panel settings also you can see here. Okay, so PSC settings. So and there is one more thing, that is storage. The physical storage also we can view here. So you can see how many drives are connected. So you can see here one drive got failed here. So we can see some red mark here, not functioning correctly. Okay. So there are seven physical drives. So you can see the uh, details of our drives also. So you can see status is okay. What is the available space? What is the speed? So 6 Gbps. What is the WWN SAS address? Who is the manufacturer? What is the product ID, serial number? Okay. So what is the protocol? So complete information of the drive we can see from our iDrive console or BMC console. Similar for all the drives. Okay, so we can create our this one also, write also from here. If you click on create virtual disk, you can create write. So you'll see that later. Okay, so this is a UI. So just log in into this BMC from your laptop and you can see all the options. So try to remember all the options. In interview they will ask how we will power off the server using BMC. What are the steps? GUI. Okay. So logs also. So try to practice this. So remove a drive and see it is capturing here or not with the timestamp. Okay. So this is the GUI. So mostly some people use GUI. So not for our testing. Okay. So next option is CLI, right? So this one is clear or any doubt here? Other than GUI, practice చేయండి. Okay. So we'll move on to the next option, that is IPMI. So CLI also we can log in and do the things, but IPMI is more popular. So IPMI is one of the interface for accessing the BMC. Okay, so we are connecting LAN cable, right? So IPMI itself a protocol. So we can access BMC via IPMI and we can control the server. So there is a tool called IPMI tool. Using that we can control the BMC. Okay, so again in IPMI there are two types. One is inbound and another one is outbound. Okay, so if it is inbound, we will directly execute that command on the server. Okay, outbound and inbound are very important. So if it is inbound, we need to log in into that particular server where we are executing the command. Okay. So if it is outbound, you can sit in other laptop. Let's say in our laptop, and so your laptop will be connected to this server via some internet, right? So using this, we can perform outbound operations. Okay. So basically, inbound means directly executing the command on the server. So outbound means we will execute the command on the server, but via some network. Okay. So now laptop launchi, I will connect to the BMC using outbound. Okay. So inbound means we need to log in into the particular server. Okay. So where we are executing the IPMI command. Okay. The difference. So LAN ద్వారా ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేసేదాన్ని అవుట్బాండ్ అంటాం, డైరెక్ట్ గా లాగిన్ చేసేదాన్ని ఇన్బాండ్ అంటాం. ఓకే. So today we will see some inbound things. So before that, draw this diagram. Diagram రాసుకుని IPMI types రాయండి. last one is there are different IPM interface, one is inband and outband. So inband అయితే directly accessing the BMC via OS, outband accessing BMC via LAN. Okay, so for you need to install a tool called IPMA tool. So today we will see the inbound commands and we will see what are the supported commands. So if we see inbound, this is the tool, IPMA tool. So see it now servers. Okay, so we need to install this IPMA tool. So to get the version of our BMC, there is a command called IPMA tool LAN print. So okay, to get the IP address of BMC. So we have seen here, right? There are many ports here, many Ethernet ports, right? So depend on the cable we connected to this port. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ports, right? So depend on the BMC is connected to which port. Let's say I connected my cable at port 1. Okay, so if I give IPMA to LAN print 1, so it will give the complete information about our BMC. Means what is the IP address and what is the server IP address. So if it is connected to LAN print 2, we will give like this, but it shows invalid channel because we connected the cable to port 1. Okay. So we will again execute this IPMA tool LAN print 1. So you can see the IP address here. So now the IP address of BMC is 192.168.0.100. Okay. You can also see the MAC address and default gateway. Okay. So now we got the IP address. So in interview they will ask how we will get the IP address of BMC. What is the command? IPMA tool LAN print 1. So now if we want to see the status of your server, so there is a command called IPMA tool chassis status. So if we give this, we will give what is the status of your server. Means chassis is nothing but our server enclosure. Okay. What is the system power is on. So it is getting the power. There are many options you can go through. So is there any drive fault? No. Okay, so if you want the status, power status. So you can see your chassis power is on or not. So server power is on or off. You can see from this command. Okay. So if you want to see the logs, IPMA tool, SCL. So SCL stands for serial event logs. Okay. So మనం UI లో చూసాం కదా. GUI lo we have seen these logs, right? So GUL, these are all the logs, right? System event logs. So similarly, if we execute IPMA tool SCL list, so it will list all the system event logs. So the same messages you can see from here. So you can see that so drive has accepted or being inserted. So all these messages we can see from IPMA tool SCL list. Okay, so if we want to list all the sensors, so there is a command called IPMA tool SDR list. Okay, so each component is having its sensor, right? If you want to list all the sensors, IPMA tool SDR list. So there will be many sensors like fan 1, what is the status? Fan 5, what is the status? So USB device, what is the status? Similarly for PCI slots, what is the status? So if we can see here, so PCI slot 5 only we inserted. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 are free. Means you can see here NS means not present and you have not inserted any device. So wherever you are seeing OK means you have inserted the device. So CMOS battery, okay. So PS, okay. So you can see the cables. You have two cables, so you can see. Okay, here. Okay. So basically, to get this sensor information, we need to type IPMI tool SDR list. To get all the logs, IPMI tool SCL list. To know the power status of our chassis, IPMI tool power status. So if you want to power on or power off, IPMI tool chassis power off. If you want to power off the server, you can type this command. If you want to power on, you can type power space on. If you want to power cycle, means if you want to reboot the server, so you can type IPMI tool chassis power cycle. Okay. So how to get the power status? IPMI tool power status. If I want to power on the server, IPMI tool tool chassis power on. How to get the IP address of BMC? IPMI tool LAN print and port number. Okay. So how to get the system event logs? IPMI tool SCL list. How to get the sensor list? IPMI tool SDR list. So there are another important command. So there is IPMI tool FRU print. So FRU stands for field replaceable unit. So FRU we call it as. So it is very important. So what are the whatever the hot swappable things are there right in our server means replaceable command remove and reinsert. Let's say drive, fans, CPU. So all these components are removable and reinserted. See if you want to list all those components, okay, all the field replaceable units, you can type IPMI tool FRU print. So if you just type this command, you will give some long output. So you can see here. So board manufacturer means motherboard. What is the product name, serial number, and we can see PSU1, PSU2. Okay. So similarly for fans. So this is our ride controller. Okay. So basically what FRU print will give, it will list all the field replaceable units. Okay. So these are some of the important inbound commands. So రాసుకోండి సో రాసుకుని ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయండి. Don't practice power commands, power on and power off. So you can see FRU print HDR SCL. Okay. సో అర్థమైంది ఆన్లైన్ లో ఉన్న వాళ్ళకి ఇంటర్వ్యూ will ask what is the use of IPMI and how we can access BMC via IPMI. So how we can access BMC via IPMI? Using IPMI tool, right? Hmm? Windows server same. So IPMI works similar for Windows and Linux. విండోస్ లో కూడా కమాండ్ లైన్ ఉంటుంది కదా, కమాండ్ లైన్ ఓపెన్ చేస్తే కమాండ్స్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేస్తాం. Dasara?
Hello.
So practice and inbound commands. So tomorrow we'll see outbound and we'll also try to see redfish. We need to configure this redfish. If you are able to configure, you can practice this. Yes, I will try to configure this one. And forfish and postcon we cannot practice. Okay, so this is about BMC. Okay, so we'll try to complete server class by tomorrow. So from Monday we can start the new topic. Okay, so if no doubt we can stop here and we will connect tomorrow.